On April 23, 2025, China got provoked by the United States. As planned, USS William Lawrence and US Navy Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer with enough weapons to level an entire city transited through the Taiwan Strait was knocking on China's door. This single act could cause a series of attacks that the world will discuss for years to come, and you'll see them all in this video. And although Taiwan was ceded to Japan under the Treaty of Shimonoseki after the First Sino-Japanese War, China claims it was ceded back to China after Japan's defeat in World War II. Referencing the 1943 Cairo Declaration and 1945 Potsdam Proclamation, which called for Japan to return territories taken from China. The U.S. and majority of the rest of the world do not agree to China's claims. Taiwan has been a sovereign nation for almost an entire century and can not just be forcefully absorbed by China. The Taiwan Strait spans 97 nautical miles in width and separates China and Taiwan. Globally, 12 nautical miles offshore can be claimed by a country as their territory. Anything beyond that is open waters that's free for all. This 12 nautical mile limit is internationally recognized for both China and Taiwan regarding the Taiwan Strait. However, to China, if Taiwan belongs to it, then everything connecting China and Taiwan belongs to it. All 97 nautical miles of the Taiwan Strait is being claimed by China. This isn't universally accepted, and to make sure China knows that, ships and vessels of other nations routinely transit the middle of Taiwan Strait. Hence the USS William Lawrence on April 23, 2025. Of course, China is displeased when it sees foreign vessels on the Taiwan Strait. This was no different. China responded with a dramatic show of force. Swiftly, the Chinese People's Libertarian Army deployed J-16 and J-20 fighter jets and Type 055 destroyers to meet the U.S. warship, almost like they had been preparing for it. Maybe they had. On February 26, 2025, the PLA conducted its largest ever exercise near Taiwan, deploying 32 warships, 48 aircraft, and 16 drones 40 nautical miles off Taiwan's coast, with 22 aircraft crossing the strait's median line, prompting Taiwan to scramble F-16Vs and activate coastal missile defenses. On April 1st and 2nd, 2025, the PLA Strait Thunder 2025A live fire drill simulated a blockade, disrupting 15% of commercial shipping routes for 48 hours. A shocking incident on March 8, 2025 saw the Chinese flag vessel Hung Tai deliberately cut two undersea telecommunications cables near the Pinggu Islands, isolating Taiwan's outlying islands for 72 hours and costing $200 million in economic losses. The United States, in the other corner of the ring, has been surveying the likely theaters of the war that could break out. At least half a dozen U.S. Navy destroyers and cruisers have transited the Taiwan Strait in recent times. Some of these transits are made public while others are kept on the low, meaning the numbers of vessels transiting the area could be much greater. U.S. support extends beyond naval operations. On March 25, 2025, the Trump administration announced a $100 billion deal with Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company to build 3 new factories in Arizona. On January 15, 2025, U.S. congressional delegation in Taipei, led by Representative Michael McCall, reaffirmed bipartisan support post-Taiwan's presidential election to boost Taiwan's military arms sales, including a $2.2 billion package of X-16 jets and Patriot PAC-3 missiles approved on December 20, 2024, have equipped Taiwan with 66 F-16Vs and 200 Abrams tanks by April 2025. The U.S. isn't alone in backing Taiwan either. A robust coalition stands behind her in opposing China's claims. This coalition includes virtually every nation in NATO, which consists of 32 nations and then others. Of the tens of nations standing together in opposing China's claims, one other than the U.S. stands the firmest: Japan. Japan and China have hardly ever seen eye to eye. Since the late 1800s, these two Asian powers have simply refused to get along. The first Sino-Japanese War in 1894 saw Japan eventually occupying China for the next 5 decades. In fact, the Treaty of Shimonoseki that annexed Taiwan from China in the first place was executed by Japan during this occupation. Japan only gave up occupation of China after her defeat in World War II in 1945. 5 full decades of Japanese occupation of China appears to take some time to forgive. In addition to this, Japan and China also have territorial disputes over the Senkaku Islands, well known as Senkaku in Japan and Diaoyu in China. In addition to all of these, Japan and the United States are simply great allies and will more often than not back each other up in international situations that require choosing sides. So yes, should a conflict break out over Taiwan, Japan is very likely to be pulled into it very quickly. Therefore, Japan too is preparing for war. For the first time in over 7 decades since the end of World War II, Japan is developing aircraft carriers. After her defeat, Japan had to sign an agreement to not develop capabilities that protect threats and powers beyond its shores. Its military was to focus solely on self-defense. In fact, Japan's military is officially called the Japan Self-Defense Forces. But times have changed. The international community is on fire. A major war could break out anytime now, and all nations have to be ready for it. Japan might need to project power outwards to defend its allies. In a way, to Japan, this too is self-defense. To achieve this, here are JS Izumo and JS Kaga, the 2 Izumo-class carriers. Each 800 feet long and displacing 27,000 tons, were recently converted into light carriers and cost a combined $2.4 billion. Converted and upgraded, each carrier can now carry up to 12 F-35B stealth fighters and 8 helicopters. They're expected to be packed with these lethal aircraft on every voyage with no shortage because Japan operates the highest number of F-35s outside the United States. And she plans to use them. So the stage is set. As the Taiwan Strait, the contenders are ready: China, Taiwan, and the United States. Allies such as Japan are prepared to be summoned too. In a simulated world, all that's left to spark a massive conflict, probably the largest since World War II, is one trigger, one major move, one wrong decision. Please hold on. We've just got the word that one wrong decision was made and the war has begun. It's all-out war. These nations aren't holding back. On April 23rd at 9:45 a.m. when the USS William Lawrence transited the Taiwan Strait to assert freedom of navigation against China's claim over the waterway in Taiwan's sovereignty, the Chinese Navy, unimpressed and provoked by the voyage, deployed 6 fighter jets, 4 J-16 fighters, and 2 J-20 Mighty Dragon stealth fighters. At 9:55, the J-16s executed an attack run, descending to 400 feet. The USS William Lawrence AN Spy 1D radar, part of its Aegis combat system, locks onto the jets, firing an SM-6 missile with a range of 240 miles, downing 1 J-16. The J-20 was already close enough to retaliate with a PL-15 missile, which has a range of 120 miles, struck the destroyer's radar mast, impairing tracking capabilities. Second J-16 launches 2 YJ-12 anti-ship missiles which accelerate to Mach 3. The destroyer's SM-2 missiles intercept one, but the second YJ-12 hits, killing 12 crew members and disabling propulsion. With the American destroyer now stagnant in the water, a Chinese Type 055 destroyer 30 miles away fires YJ-18 missiles at it. The American ship's Phalanx CIWS shoots them down, but at a distance just close enough for the shrapnel to still cause some damage. Taiwan responds at 10:10, scrambling 12 F-16Vs armed with AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles from the Hualien Air Base. By 10:20, Japan's Ministry of Defense alerts via U.S.-Japan Cooperative Engagement Capability, deploys JS Izumo, stationed 200 miles east in the Philippine Sea, carrying 10 F-35Bs and 6 anti-submarine warfare helicopters. JS Izumo launches 4 F-35Bs, each armed with AIM-120D missiles and AGM-158 JASSM, engaging to additional J-16s, downing one. JS Kaga, 150 miles south near Miyako Island, deploys 6 F-35Bs to secure the Bashi Channel, critical for 20% of global shipping. By 1040, JS Izumo's Type 12 anti-ship missiles sink a Chinese Type 0548 frigate, getting involved from a distance, escalating the conflict. At 11, the USS Ronald Reagan, 200 miles east, launches 24 FA-18EF Super Hornets with AIM-120Ds as it joins JS Izumo and Kaga in rushing to USS William Lawrence in hopes to tow it. China deploys CNS Chengdung's J-15 fighters carrying hundreds of PL-12 missiles. It then launches long-range, semi-active radar homing surface-to-air coastal HQ-9B batteries to take out American fighters, and the war carries on. If this war isn't quenched quickly, it could grow into a broader war with a $2.5 trillion loss to the global economy and, more disturbingly, thousands of lives lost. To save all these lives, all of these people, stop this war now by giving this video a like and subscribing to this channel. Do this now, and thanks for watching.